Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we got another episode of reviewing NHL teams offseason so far. As today we're going to be talking about the Vegas Golden Knights, and well, they backstabbed a pretty good amount of people. They traded away Marc-Andre Fleury without telling them, and he figured it out over social media. But you know, there was some other moves to talk about as well, where they picked up they re-signed Alec Martinez, picked up Evgeny Danov in a trade, and much more. So before we get into all that, I'd like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to slap that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. That'll be very much appreciated, boys. So let's get into this puppy here with the Vegas Golden Knights, as they had a pretty crazy offseason. Like I was saying, they traded away Marc-Andre Fleury, which, you know, there's been tons of drama with that. But I actually quite honestly like what the Vegas Golden Knights did. They improved their center depth by picking up Patrick Howden. They also got Nolan Patrick added onto the team. And they actually improved their center depth a little bit coming into this upcoming season, because, you know, that was the biggest problem when they went into the playoffs, was because, you know, they were losing players left, right, and center. And most of the time they were losing all their centermen. You know, you lose one of Stevenson or Carlson and you're basically done. You don't have any backup centermen to help you replace. Now, a lot of the centermen that they did pick up are question mark players, right? Patrick and Howden have never really had a good season before, and have never really proved that they could play a full-time NHL position. So we're going to be getting into all that, though. So let's just get right into the trades, first of all. There's been a lot of trades with the new Vegas Golden Knights. They made a decent amount, so right off the get-go, the first trade that they made was picking up Patrick Howden for Nick DeSimone and a 4th-round pick. Now, like I was saying with Patrick Howden really hasn't been able to find that full-time NHL job, you know? He hasn't been able to figure himself out in the NHL, and he's been kind of back and forth. You know, this past season he played almost a full season, but only 7 points in 42 games. His analytics really don't support Patrick Howden very much, but we've seen a lot of players, you know, come from other teams to go to Vegas and really turn themselves around. So maybe that's what they're feeling with Patrick Howden. You know, they're taking along a very young player in Patrick Howden, and maybe they could turn him around and actually make him a decent player. But, you know, this upcoming season, he'll most likely play 4th line minutes, maybe even depth player for the Vegas Golden Knights. But I don't think this is a bad move. You're only having to trade away a 4th-round pick and an AHL player. I don't see a bad move in this. And then they traded away Cody Glass for Nolan Patrick. Cody Glass has not, of course, been able to figure out a full-time NHL spot. This was part of a 3-way trade as well, where, you know, Nashville and Philly did a trade. But Nolan Patrick, I gotta say, he's all right. You know, this is a player that has thrown up 30 points in the last 2 seasons. Of course, has dealt with some concussion stuff. You know, has been injured, and, you know, hasn't been able to figure out his game this past season. He just did not play very well. His analytics really don't support him, which we're going to be taking a look at his analytics here in just a bit. And I'd like to just say, make sure to go check out my boy Jfresh. His link will be down in the description below, as he has tons of great analytics up on his Patreon. But Nolan Patrick hasn't been able to figure himself out, basically. And, you know, he had 2 great seasons there with Philly, where he threw up some, of course, decent numbers. It wasn't, you know, fantastic seasons for himself. But I think with Nolan Patrick, they're looking for him to be that big player. This was the 2nd overall guy. And Vegas Golden Knights are hoping that they could turn this player around. So let's take a look at his analytics. And this is the reason why, you know, this past season, he did do a little bit better compared to what he did in 18 and 19. He did. Defensively, he played all right. Offensively, he did a little bit worse. But, you know, same kind of numbers as what he did the year before. You know, it definitely was a little bit better analytically, of course. But can he bounce back? That's the biggest question with Nolan Patrick. Can he continue improving his game? Or is he just going to kind of be that bust of that draft, basically, right? I mean, he was supposed to be going 1st overall, but the New Jersey Devils decided to choose Nico Hischier over Nolan Patrick instead. Nolan Patrick fell down to Philly. Now, Nolan Patrick's a very physical guy. He brings a physical aspect to his game, but he just needs to be able to find that offense and defensive type of game, because he's a great 2-way guy. He just needs to improve that game a lot better, and I think he could do it here in Vegas. I do truly have that belief in Nolan Patrick, where I think he could be a bounce-back player this upcoming season. And I believe Nolan Patrick could be a big piece to the Vegas Golden Knights coming into this upcoming season. And, of course, losing out on Cody Glass is a big player, too, because, you know, potentially this was a guy that could have been a breakout player for the Vegas Golden Knights, too. I don't think they gave him enough time. You know, he did all right the past season, 10 points in 27 games. He was all right. You know, in the AHL, he was absolutely ripping it up. So, Cody Glass was just about there. So maybe they felt like Nolan Patrick had a little bit more to give. So hopefully that is the case for the Vegas Golden Knights. Maybe they chose the right player, but we'll have to see how Nolan Patrick will end up there in Vegas. And then otherwise, they traded away Marc-Andre Fleury for free. And they didn't even tell him. They didn't even tell the guy until, he's seen it on social media, which is just an absolute backstab. I know that, Alan Walsh wasn't, very nice about it, where he posted a picture of, Marc-Andre Fleury getting stabbed by DeBoer or whatever. I know there was tons of drama with Marc-Andre Fleury playing there in Vegas, but this was almost a Vezina. Was it a Vezina winning year for Marc-Andre Fleury? I felt like it was. I just can't remember if it was or not. I'll have to research it again. I do this almost like every video where I'm like, oh, did he win the Vezina or not? Yeah, he did win the Vezina and the William M. Jennings. This was a Vezina winning goalie this past season, and they decided to dump him off for nothing. Like a 928 save percentage goalie, a guy that carried you to the third round, and you dump him off for nothing, and you don't tell him. That is just an extreme, massive dickhead move there by the Vegas Golden Knights, and everyone was baffled by this one. We'd even know if he was going to play this upcoming season, because he was so surprised by it that, he was just baffled. He really was. Marc-Andre Fleury was baffled. And then the next trade, they picked up Evgeny Dadonov for a 2022 third-round pick and Nick Holden. I actually quite like this move by the Vegas Golden Knights. Evgeny Dadonov didn't have the greatest year, but his expected offense was still the same as any other year that he was putting up, 70 points. So I feel like Evgeny Dadonov was a very low-key, smart move by the Vegas Golden Knights, a guy that could throw up, 25, 30 goals a season for the Vegas Golden Knights. I feel he's most likely going to be playing third-line minutes alongside of Patrick from what the depth chart looks like. So maybe this is a guy that puts up, solid 20 goals a season, but he's playing in Ottawa where they didn't produce a whole lot of points, and I feel like he's going to produce a lot more coming to Vegas, especially since he's going to get a nice chance to play on the third line, probably some nice power play time as well, and he might be playing all up and down the lineup. Honestly, if there's some injuries, I think Dadonov might shuffle up, or he might shuffle down. We'll have to see how it works out, but honestly, only giving up Nick Holden and a third-round pick for Evgeny Dadonov is not a big loss. I think it's a pretty good deal. And then they also got rid of Ryan Reeves for a third-round pick. Not a bad move there, especially since Ryan Reeves wasn't really turning out to really be anything for them, I guess. He wasn't, producing the same amount of numbers that he was. He wasn't playing very well defensively. The only thing he was doing was fighting and hitting. And honestly, for the Vegas Golden Knights, you already got some players that can do that. So Ryan Reeves was just an expendable player, especially since he was eating up a little bit of their cap. And then the draft, I didn't think it was that bad. Zach Dean was a pretty good draft pick, and then Chaika as well was a pretty good selection as well. Their draft wasn't too bad there for the Vegas Golden Knights. And then moving on towards their signings, they didn't really have too busy of a free agency. It was pretty quiet for them. Just some depth signings, of course, with Brown, Quinney, and Barchi. And then they signed Matthias Janmark to a 1-year, $2 million deal. I don't mind this. He plays good defensively, produces a little bit of offense, not bad. It could have been a little bit cheaper, but $2 million for 1 year for Matthias Janmark to play on the third, fourth line, not a bad idea there. Brossoit, 2 years, $25 million. I thought this deal was an absolutely amazing deal. Laurent Brossoit is going to be an amazing backup, I feel, for the Vegas Golden Knights. He's thrown up some great numbers over the past 3 years there with the Winnipeg Jets as the backup for Hellebuck, and I think he's going to be a really good backup for Robin Lehner as well this upcoming season. I don't know if he's going to get, I think Robin Lehner's going to be relied on a lot more, and we'll have to see how well Robin Lehner will do with that, but I think Brossoit is going to be a perfect backup to assist Lehner in becoming a full-time starting goalie this upcoming season. And Lehner has been a starting goalie for a long time now, but he's been in a tandem for the past 2 years with Marc-Andre Fleury, so I'm excited to see how it will pan out as, Robin Lehner taking the full starting reins here with the Vegas Golden Knights, and Brossoit is an amazing backup and a really good deal on him. Alec Martinez, good two-way defenseman, mostly, offensively minded, puts up some good defensive numbers, but he was really good offensively this upcoming past season, 32 points in 53 games. He had a real solid season there with the Vegas Golden Knights, and I think it's a good signing. He's a little bit old, though. He's 34 years of age, and that 3-year deal, I don't know if it's, necessarily the smartest deal in the world to lock up a guy for the next 3 years. I would have probably went for 2 years, but especially since he's 34 years old, and they throw on a no trade clause on him. Not bad, but it's definitely going to be buyout proof with this no with the bonuses being added into it. So it's an expensive deal for Alec Martinez. He definitely deserved it after having a really good season, of course. But for 3 years at the age that he's at, it's a little risky. And then Nolan Patrick, 2 years, $1.2 million, $1.2 million. For Nolan Patrick, not a bad deal for him either, especially since he's a maybe player, a questionable player on whether or not he's going to actually pan out to be a good player or not. I think it wasn't that bad of a deal. So, the Vegas Golden Knights, they had a pretty alright season, off-season. A lot of the moves that they did do were alright. They improved their depth. Janmark, Patrick, and Dadonov is basically their new third line, all re-signed or, brought into the team by trade. And I like all of them. Dadonov's going to be that depth goal scorer for this upcoming season. Patrick can bring that good two-way game, of course, if he's able to. That's the biggest question, if he's able to. And then Matthias Janmark as well, backing him up. He brings good defensive numbers, can score some goals. Not a bad player in him either. The defense, of course, stays the exact same, which they played really well defensively last year. Everything stays basically the same, and I think Vegas Golden Knights will most likely still be that powerhouse in this division, without a doubt. I think they're going to definitely take number one just because they improved their center core. I really like what they did there. I hate that they backstabbed Marc-Andre Fleury. I felt like, they could have handled it a little bit better than what they did. Especially since Vegas Golden Knights have been kind of handling players really poorly because they decide that they're going to, pay, Pietrangelo or these other players millions of dollars and not stay loyal to the players that they already have on the team and then backstab them by dumping them off for nothing. It's pretty, mean for the Vegas Golden Knights to do, and it's been the way that they've been managing their team over the past few years, and we'll have to see how long this lasts for the Vegas Golden Knights. But this is a big season for them. They want to go for that Stanley Cup. They've been dying for it ever since they got beat by the Washington Capitals. Will they be able to this year? I think there's more potential, but you have to have Nolan Patrick play really good, and you have to have Brent Howden play really good to make that center depth be really good, because if those two guys don't really pan out this year, then your center depth is basically the same as last year. If you lose one of Stevenson or William Karlsson, your team is screwed. Without a doubt, your team is screwed if you lose one of those two centermen, if Nolan Patrick and Brent Howden are not the players that you want them to be. So, for right now, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Tell me, guys, in the comment section below what you guys thought of the Vegas Golden Knights offseason. And yeah, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Adios, amigos.